That's fine.
Let's talk a little bit about the Orton thing, and we're going to talk about it tomorrow too if we have time. We got a lot of stuff to cover tomorrow. And, of course, me and Jimmy will cover it. This was a conversation. Myself and Vince Russo, of all people, used to argue logic a lot because he said it wasn't logical for guys like Finn Balor to beat up bigger dudes. And I would say, in some situations, if he were kicking Brock Lesnar, yeah, I agree. But to say that a smaller guy can't beat a bigger guy, well, I've got dozens of examples of why that's been proven to be a thing that can happen in MMA, which is a shoot. So you say, how can I believe it? Well, here are about 1 million examples of guys who fought at 170 pounds beating heavyweights. Like, it can happen. It happens. The Randy Orton thing. And, Rip Rogers is a guy locally who I've had friends train under, and I respect the guy. I do. I don't take his word as gospel. Nobody should take anybody's word as gospel in that regard. There's nothing wrong with a dive, especially when you're bragging about a headlock and a chin lock. And I've ran this point to death. If you're trying to tell me that AJ Styles is top of the line wrestler, A+ wrestler, and he gets caught in a headlock and he doesn't know to throw a guy over the back of his knee, doesn't know to take the back, doesn't know to throw his arm into the headlock, doesn't know to turn, doesn't know to sit, doesn't know to switch his hips and move around. If I'm looking for logic holes and I'm looking for things that make me, I can't believe this anymore. Well, that's number one. You want me to believe that the best wrestler in the world can't get out of a fucking headlock? How many times have you seen a headlock applied in an MMA fight? The answer is like 2 in UFC history that work, and those were both bulldog chokes that finished fights, which are supposed to be illegal in WWE. So that doesn't work. So the answer is never. You never see that. A dive, sure, it's not always practical. It doesn't always make sense. I've put over Sami Zayn on SmackDown for how he's made his dives make sense, where he'll only do it if it's against a giant guy or if it's against at least 2 people, where he's not risking as much to do it. It's weird to me that Randy Orton is criticizing a circuit and style of wrestling that he has never drawn money on. He has never drawn money on the independent circuit. Now, could he? Absolutely, he could. But he never has. He's never had to work that style, never needed to work that style, never really needed to draw without the marquee name of WWE. Could he? I don't know. Maybe he could. Probably he could, especially if he were to just leave. But that was weird. That was weird.
Yeah. A lot of what I've seen is defense of it is, well, isn't this, aren't we trying to make this kind of like a fun art form? And with all art forms, aren't there things that you personally like and also personally don't like, and then the person next to you could like the opposite? Isn't that what we're doing?
It's so like if somebody got on the podcast and said, you know what, I don't like Star Wars or Pulp Fiction, and everybody just crapped on him.
Right, exactly. Right. The same basic thing applies. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. You were making the opposite
exact thing is what it is.
Exact thing. But the idea is that I can disagree with you on your opinions about Pulp Fiction and Star Wars. Mm-hmm. You can disagree with me, and that's fine. But it doesn't make the fact that, like, you're not saying an objective truth that Pulp Fiction is terrible and no one should be allowed to watch it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, because that seems to be the point that the old schoolers, is what I'm calling them, these guys, the Rip Rogers crew, are saying about indie, that it shouldn't even exist. It's stupid. Why do you do it? Don't do it. It shouldn't exist. And the other guys are saying, well, we're not telling you that your thing shouldn't exist. We're not saying that your headlock thing doesn't have a place in wrestling, as what you're saying to us. And that's my point, is that if you have one side who's saying, hey, maybe you do yours and I'll do mine and that'll be fine, that's the side I'm going to be on, as opposed to the side of the people who say the other side is stupid and shouldn't even exist. I'm like, I don't understand that point of view.
For all that I've said about headlocks, I ran a match story where I was wrestling my catch wrestling coach and I couldn't get out of his headlock no matter what I tried to do.
Right.
You suspend your disbelief.
Right.
Some people are more willing to suspend their disbelief and other people are less willing to suspend their disbelief. But nobody's wrong for either one of them.